What's going on, everybody? C4, welcome back to the channel. Today we're for a new Madden 23 realistic rebuild from the fallout of the 2023 NFL Draft. And today we're taking a look at the Atlanta Falcons. Now, this is kind of like we're getting to the bottom of the barrel of the teams that have been highly requested for me to get to. And also, I'm not going to say full-on spoilers because I dead ass, as the kids say, have no idea where exactly I'm going to go with my Madden 24 franchise mode. Call me a dumb, idiot, skeptical, getting your hopes up to be crushed type person. So kind of hoping maybe there'll be create a team in Madden 24. Maybe that's what we can do. But looking at the actual available 32 teams, near the top of that list, I would say top 5, maybe even top 3, is the Atlanta Falcons. So this might be a little bit of a dry run of what could be in store if I do decide to pick the Atlanta Falcons as our Madden 24 team. We have the follow from the draft, and I think they're an interesting team. I get a lot of people when I kind of proposed the question on Twitter, what team. Atlanta was near the tops on that. That's why it made me think about doing the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, you look at the team here from the offensive. We'll start off the big uglies. You know, Matthews is solid, but he's a veteran. He's not going to be here forever. You got Matthew Bergeron, the Canadian, on the offensive line. He was a high draft pick for them on the 2023 draft class, which is awesome. Hennessy's like a developmental lower tier guy. They just paid Chris Lynch, who's an awesome player, but they paid him like ridiculous, like $100 million contract for a guard. So I think going forward, you're going to have a really good guard, but a guard that's incredibly expensive and is going to affect your salary cap situation. You got McGarry, who's a solid offensive tackle. So like the O-line's solid, but has its ups and downs, and has, you know, I'll give them a little bit of a rub here that they do have a Canadian here. Skill position players. You get Kyle Pitts. You know, I think I almost want to embrace kind of, you know, grabbing some gear of the team that I pick in Madden 24. And, like, you know, we have, like, the Commanders are a top team. Like, I'm just not going to buy anything Commanders. I just can't do it. I'll tell you right now, if we end up going with the Falcons, I am going to order a Kyle Pitts jersey yesterday. One of my favorite players in the league. And I think it's also interesting with Kyle Pitts because while he's, like, overpowered in Madden, which, you know, if we do the Atlanta Falcons, he's going to be like a premier target for us, hasn't really broken out in real life. So it's like there's kind of a level of, you know, making him live up to his potential that makes it a little bit interesting. He also got Jonnu Smith coming over from the Patriots, so you got some good weapons there. Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, Cordero Patterson, 3 really, really unique running backs. But obviously Bijan Robinson, he's the guy. He's an absolute X factor. Stud. What a pick for the Atlanta Falcons. Kind of a surprise you picked when they made it, because you're like, well, you had the rookie Algier last year to BYU, went over 1,000 yards, graded out like really, really high from PFF. But there's also something under respect about just straight up going best player available. Wide receiver, you got Drake London, who I was very public, not a big fan of when they drafted him, but has a unique skill set. 6'4", 220 pounds, 92 acceleration. I mean, not a burner, but you got 92 acceleration, 96 jumping. Like, there's a player in there that's going to be very, very fun to utilize. I think the jump ball, the aggressive catch, if that's good in Madden 24, is going to be popping off. But beyond that, like, you don't have much of a wide receiver. I mean, you're going to have to rely on Pitts and Jonnu Smith and Bijan Robinson and Cordero Patterson to kind of find a way to make it all work. Because, you know, Matt Collins, role player, Scotty Miller, kind of a fun player. Like, Scotty Miller, going to get big-time speed out of him. 94 speed, 93 acceleration. So, like, kind of like a fun Madden player. So, yeah, but still plenty of work needs to go into that wide receiver room. The big question is the quarterback room. You know, again, wasn't a big fan of Desmond Ridder. I think it was awesome what he did for Cincinnati and trying to watch the Bearcats go on their playoff run. But I also, like, I don't know, like, in terms of Madden, very fun Madden quarterback. Great athlete, has decent arm strength, decent accuracy. But is he the guy? Like, there's still a question mark here of, like, whether or not, like, A, can he develop into the guy? B, can you develop him into a guy? So, you know, interesting, man. It's an interesting team. Offensively. Defensively, kind of the same. Like, you look at the front 3 here. We got Grady Jarrett, who's solid, but also near the end of his career. You know, he's not getting any younger. Was he 30? 30? Ugh, I hate saying that because I'm 30. It makes me feel old as shit. But you got Grady Jarrett, who's like, you know, he's at least at, you know, to phrase it, he's at his ceiling. You got Onyemata, who's at his ceiling. They got Zach Harrison coming over from Ohio State. I believe he was a 3rd-round pick. But, like, generally speaking, that front 3, going into year 2, year 3 of that franchise mode is probably going to look a lot different. Rest of the front seven, we got Lorenzo Carter, Caden Ellis, Troy Anderson, Arnold Ebiketie. Now, Troy Anderson, because we're doing offline franchise, so my franchise doesn't glitch, I had to like re-sim the regular season, and Troy Anderson got Defensive Rookie of the Year and got a dev trait. And because he was so awesome for us in pink slips, I was like, you know what? We're going to let him keep the dev trait here as we get into our 5-year rebuild. He's an awesome player, and, there's our user. There's the user on the defense already. Like, that's something that I'm looking for all these different teams that I'm going to be considering for a Madden 2014. You need to have that one user linebacker, because obviously we evolved in Madden 23 as I played on all Madden with difficult all Madden sliders. Like, you couldn't survive just playing as an edge rusher, playing the defensive line, which is what I've always done. And I've never always done it because skill-wise, obviously I'm not the best Madden player, but I'm not bad at all. But I always just loved playing the defensive end, and I love just block shedding. But you had to evolve. You can't really survive on all Madden with just user the DN. So we used the linebackers, and we used, obviously we had Roquan Smith for an example, which was awesome. But Troy Anderson, I think, would be an incredibly fun user to make, and with his skill set, with the upside, like, that's a guy you can grow and develop into a superstar potentially. With a guy with 92 speed, 94 acceleration, 84 hit power, 81 tackle. I mean, obviously his rating's going to line up a little bit differently, but I mean, very fun player to utilize there as a user. Rest of the secondary, we got Jesse Bates. That's a big time getting him from the Cincinnati Bengals in free agency. You got Richie Grant, you got Jeff Okudah and Hughes, both formerly of the Detroit Lions. You got AJ Terrell, who's a lockdown corner. You go into the special teams, you got an outstanding kicker in Younghoe Koo. I'm really, they're legit top 3. They are a legit top 3. I would love to hear what you guys think in the comment section below. Not so much what other teams you would consider. I would more like to hear the pros and cons of making the Atlanta Falcons potentially our Madden 24 main channel franchise, because I think it's a great balance of like young fun players with guys that are not the best but have like very fun Madden attributes, like a Scotty Miller, like a Cordero Patterson, like a Troy Anderson, like a whoever. You get the rebuild of like someone like Jeff Okudah was a top pick but got bounced and has struggled in the league. I think it's a really, really interesting team. I'd love to hear what you guys think. That is our preview. Let's get into year 1 of this 5-year rebuild and try and win a Super Bowl for the Falcons. All right, so year 1 here's been a little bit of a mixed bag. 3-3, second in the division, but we got a breakout here for Desmond Ridder. I feel like if you told me, gun to my head, which way am I leaning? I was leaning towards Desmond Ridder is going to not be our quarterback of this rebuild, and we're going to have to draft one or sign one in free agency. Maybe do what we did when we did the Vegas Raiders rebuild. We ended up signing Tua, but this could be huge. Week 7, a home game against a very good Buffalo Bills team. If he can get this breakout, it's going to get him off his normal dev trait up to a star dev, which is going to go a long way for him to develop into a franchise quarterback, for him to develop into the quarterback that can bring this Falcons team to a Super Bowl. So we end up, there's just almost no chance he hit it. We got smoked 28-9 to the Buffalo Bills. Oh, but he did! Desmond Ridder, another big-time performance in a losing effort. Let's go! All right, midway point, and, again, kind of bubbling around 500, but we did just kick the shit out of the Bucks, which anytime you can do that, it's pretty good. And we have a top 3 offense in the NFL. Defense needs to figure it out. We actually get a weekly award winner here in this performance, which is David Onyemata. New free agent coming over from the Saints, 2 sacks on 4 tackles. Congrats to him. We've had a couple player of the weeks. Actually, while we have that, Desmond Ridder's got it a couple times. I think Troy Anderson, week 8, Troy Anderson, 16 tackles, gets NFC Defensive Player of the Week. Desmond Ridder got it in week 5 with 4 touchdowns, and week 2 with 3 touchdowns. So I mean, even though we're 5 and 6, like, we're a competitive roster. We're showing definitely some signs of upside. And I think as we look at some contracts here, we got a lot of salary cap. This is a roster that's very fluid, and we're not necessarily tied down to a lot of players, so we can properly invest this money. $86 million right now. Big picture. I think Matt Hennessy's worth signing. I think just given the contract, he's 25 years old. Give him a 4-year deal. Very, very affordable. I definitely think there's some upside there at left guard. Gives us a little bit more flexibility, too, with what we want to do with Matthew Bergeron. I think Jeff Okudah, another guy. I mean, he's developing nicely. This was like a weird contract decision. Ultimately, I was surprised the Detroit Lions straight up just weren't interested in continuing to develop him. Maybe they just agreed that it was better to move on. But we're definitely going to try to keep Jeff Okudah there. Everyone else, thank you much for your service. At the end of year one, somehow we sneak into the playoffs, 9-8. You know, firmly second place in the NFC South, and I think around 500 is best case scenario for the Atlanta Falcons, assuming like Bijan and Kyle Pitts and Ritter can be solid. But we'll take it, man. We'll take it. We'll just see how far. And then, holy shit, Desmond Ritter went off. We know the Falcons are a good sim team. That is a lot of interceptions. But that's also just, I'm actually worried what Bijan Robinson. I mean, even Bijan 8. I mean, for an offense that threw the ball, I was expecting seeing these numbers that Bijan wasn't even going to go over 1,000. Interesting. I mean, yeah, again, Atlanta is one of those like secondary overpowered playbooks. I'd put them in line with like Vegas. You know, they're not on the level of Kansas City and Tampa Bay and Dallas, but they're pretty damn close. I did not see this because I simmed the exact, I straight up just simmed year one. I didn't care about the record because I was going to make the draft class the way that I could actually get the Falcons draft class. And this was Desmond Ritter last year. Nothing changed. I didn't switch a freaking thing. We didn't sign anybody on the offense outside of bringing in Bergeron on the offensive line and Bijan Robinson in the backfield. We have a shit wide receiver room outside of Drake London and Kyle Pitts. I didn't change anything. And here we go. I mean, completion percentage is the same, 66%. Interceptions, both kind of high, but the fact that like he added 20 touchdowns and a couple, it's, you know, that's the kind of development you want to see out of your quarterback. And he earned his star dev, might be even a superstar dev. Now, I will say those interceptions are kind of high, might affect him going up a second dev trait this season, but really a perfect role because I saw what we saw here in the first year that doesn't count, and I was like, shit. This guy's a normal dev quarterback that's not going off with a playbook that I thought he would. But completely flipped the script here in year number one. That is big-time numbers from Desmond Ritter. Bijan Robinson chipped in. It was solid. We definitely need to find more ways to get him involved. But Kyle Pitts, I put him in the slot because I want him to be, he's really our wide receiver one. He's the best wide receiver on this team. 105 catches, 14 yards, 9 tutties. We got 12 and 10 for Mac Hollins. Holy shit. 12 and 8 for Drake London, 6 and 11 for Jonnu Smith. So we don't have a lot of weapons, but we definitely utilized what we did have. And had a breakout for Mac Hollins, who, I mean, he's 29. Like, I think how you read that is like we get another wide receiver and maybe we draft one. They're going to be able to get that Mac Hollins buffet. You know what I'm saying? I don't think this is necessarily on Mac Hollins. It's more so the offense. Defensively, we have Troy Anderson, a tackle machine, 150 tackles, over 100 for Richie Grant. We got 9 sacks. Zach Harrison, 6 from Arnold Ebiketie, 5 from Grady Jarrett. It's a 3-4 team. Sacks are usually few and far between. And AJ Terrell led the team with 3 interceptions. Taking a look at the yearly awards, MVP goes to Josh Allen. Desmond Ritter at number 5 is still very good. In the NFC, Offensive Player of the Year goes to Cooper Kupp. Defensive Player of the Year goes to Nick Bosa. Offensive Rookie of the Year goes to Bijan Robinson. Surprise, surprise, he's already an X Factor, so there's no dev trait that can go up or down there. Zach Harrison wins Defensive Rookie of the Year, which is a great role for him. I'm not too sure what his dev trait is, but we will double check that. Ritter comes in as a number 3 quarterback. Wow. Not one of our wide receivers made the list. That's you know, maybe the tight end threw it for a loop there. Rest of the awards, not seeing much for our team, but really, really good individual performance. Team had a little bit of a breakout. Just how far can we go in year one of our playoff run? Starting the wildcard round against the 11-6 San Francisco 49ers. Tough team, man. A lot of playoff experience, and unfortunately, we fall a little short. 31-24 for our overachieving 7-seed Falcons in a matchup where both quarterbacks, you know, didn't really have the strongest of games. Both running backs kind of had really good games, all things considered. Maybe the decisive factor was the defensive side of the ball. No team got sacks. Both had one. It was just, it is what it is, man. I guess you can give the advantage to the 49ers. They have a lot of experience in the playoffs versus us. It's kind of a new thing. But hopefully, we'll become, you know, we'll learn this. This will build a callus on this Falcons team, and we'll be back. We got 4 more years to take a swing at this. And in closing, the 49ers went on to the Super Bowl, losing to the Cincinnati Bengals. That's a fresh matchup. Happy that it's not, Dallas, Tampa Bay, Kansas City. Looking at our squad, though, no depth trade for Ritter, man. I knew usually the interceptions can kind of affect whether or not you're going to get that extra depth trade in the year. But I mean, given the way that he's played, I have no worries that if he can continue with this level of play and just shave off some of those interceptions, that we will continue the development of Desmond Ridder up to superstar, up to X Factor. Bijan Robinson was an X Factor out the get-go. Kyle Pitts as their leading receiver had nowhere else to go as he already was in X Factor. Maybe a shot that Drake. How did Mac Hollins, as much as we're not re-signing, wasn't a priority, how did he not go up dev trade? He regressed 12 points after having, whatever it was, 1,200 yards and double-digit touchdowns. And man, you know what? Madden is unforgiving to older players. That is for sure. For the rest of the team, on the defensive side of the ball, Zach Harrison getting defensive player of the year. Here's up to a superstar. We also have Troy Anderson going from star to a superstar. Everyone else's dev trait stays in line. I don't think we lost any devs. So ultimately, couldn't look much better going into year 2 for this team. I guess the only other perfect role would have been Desmond Ridder rolling a superstar dev. So for free agency, I'm honestly, I didn't really have much of a plan. I wanted to add some wide receivers. I think given our offense and the breakout of Mac Hollins without him really getting a dev trade, I feel like we got younger players to put them in the position. Maybe they could, start rolling out some dev traits to start pinning out. So I'm looking at both Quez Watkins and KJ Hamler. Both these guys, I don't know if they're going to be wide receiver 2s. They're both affordable enough that, if I can draft a wide receiver, say we come around our first round pick, there's a wide receiver that's clearly the guy that we need to bring in. I have no problem with having, Drake London, drafted wide receiver, KJ Hamler and Quez Watkins in my wide receiver room. So I'm doing that. And then I got Brian Burns. I don't know if I've ever seen him on the free agency. We need an edge rusher, right? We struggle getting sacks. And if that is the case, pairing Brian Burns with now a, second-year superstar, Zach Harrison, the continued development, hopefully, of Arnold Ebiketie, I'm interested in it. That's just the first time I've ever seen that. And to be able to steal him away from a divisional rival in the Carolina Panthers is just too good to pass up. So let's see. We have the top bid for him right now. And we're able to land Brian Burns. We're still waiting on both the wide receivers. Wow, we're going to take that into day 2. Quez and KJ Hamler. And into day 2, we get both KJ Hamler and Quez Watkins. So now all of our attention shifts towards the NFL draft, where we hold pick 19. So we got pick 19 in the draft. In terms of needs, we're not in a BPA type scenario, but there's positions of need. One is wide receiver, and that's kind of where we've done a homework on 2 guys that caught our eye. One is staying within the state of Georgia. We got Marcus James of the Georgia Bulldogs, 6'3" with A catch and traffic, B release. Combine, for a bigger wide receiver is not bad. Does have elite strength, but not, it's just, that's kind of like a big, he's a slot. He's a big slot. We also have down here Roman Archibald at a South Florida first-round grade, speedster with A deep route running, B release, double C's. And, it is what it is, man. These, I made it a complaint. Can we have less 4-2 guys in the draft? But when they get generated, like that guy there right now, it's going to be pretty hard for us to not draft him. I did homework on the defensive line. More so at nose. We need a nose tackle. And in terms of those guys, we have a D tackle named Christine Newhouse. He actually looks pretty solid. They look solid. I don't know how to phrase that, but double B's and an A. There actually is one of those nose tackle builds a little bit later on. It looks solid. Nick McGee, double B, double C. And he's 340 pounds, comes in with 43 reps on the bench press. That's a guy we definitely want to target. We'll probably maybe even reach for him in the second round, third round, depending on where our draft board is at. You could say we need another middle linebacker to pair with Troy Anderson. And we got Travis Green here out of Clemson. We only know a pursuit, but the combine does look pretty good. Second to the 40-yard dash, top 10 in the 3-cone and the 20-yard shuttle, which are important. But we just don't have enough information to make that pick versus that wide receiver that's clearly going to be, at worst, high 70 normal dev. That's at worst. So I think all is said and done, we're going to trust our homework, go with the speedster, Roman Archibald, Wish there was a dev trade. Oh, that sucks. But you know what? Knowing our offense, you pair him, that speed, with Quez Watkins' speed and KJ Hamler's speed, one of those guys is bound to break out and develop nicely alongside Drake London and Kyle Pitts. All right, so now we're going to the second round, and I think, yeah, nose tackle and a linebacker are our top needs. And looking at the D tackle board, there's still 6 that could potentially fall off the board until McGee, and like that's clearly who we want. So now we have like the tough chance here of trying to decipher who's going to be a good linebacker. I think there's some value here with Nate Lowry. We got double B and an A, which looks good. However, the combine, not so much, not brutal. Like this would be a guy that if we draft a linebacker and we try to get a twofer, bring him in. But we got to make sure we make the right call here. We're bringing the right type of player. And this guy here, Kelvin Jenkins, has a pursuit. We don't know what the tackle of the zone coverage is, but outstanding athlete. First in the 40, first in the 3-cone, first in the 20-yard shuttle. Usually when you can gamble on these type of athletes, you get at least a dev trade. He might be like 68, 69 overall, but he'll have a hidden dev, and you can pair that with Troy Anderson and allow them to be tackle machines. So that is where we're going to go. Kelvin Jenkins, and we do roll the hidden dev. Now we need to make sure in the third round we can grab that nose tackle, and this is as good of a draft as I could have hoped for. And D tackle's still there. Nick McGee, day 3. It rhymes. Let's go. Normal dev, but again, it's a nose tackle. You're going to be, stopping the run. Give me a decent rating so you can play right away. So here's a look at our draft recap. It's always a little annoying when your first round pick does not have a hidden dev, but when there is 76 overall with elite traits, you're going to gamble that this guy's going to be able to figure it out, and the development will figure itself out. 98 speed, 97 acceleration with 80 catching. A lot of times when you get the speedsters like this, they have like 77 catching, so that's pretty good. 81 deep route running, 86 spec catch, 91 agility, 79 release, 95 change of direction. Like, there's a lot to be good there. Even if that ended up only being a star def, it would have been like an A-tier pick, but he has a little bit of work to do. Kelvin Jenkins was a hidden dev linebacker, 71 overall. Let's see if his rating shifts up any when we move into middle linebackers. Obviously, your outside linebackers here are primarily edge rushers. So he goes from 71, stays at a 71. Nick McGee, normal dev, but likely, well, he's going to have an opportunity to compete with David Onyemata for the nose tackle reps here, 73 overall. I did get Lowry, that linebacker's kind of gassing up, and yeah, he had 2 Bs and an A for his stats, but he was not a great athlete, and 65 overall. You always go with the athletes at linebacker. And then the rest of the draft, wasn't the best, wasn't the worst. I actually traded up to get a punter and see if we can get some competition against Bradley Pinion. Our current punter is a little bit expensive, but hey, if Archibald can get a dev trade, it's going to look back as a pretty good draft class. And just to be clear, the other wide receiver that we kind of flip-flopped on, normal dev as well. So maybe just not a great year for wide receivers, even though they lied to me when I was setting my scouting at the beginning of the year, and I said wide receiver was the strongest position in the draft. That determined this is a lie. So looking at quickly at our roster going into year number 2, we've shuffled around the offensive line here a little bit. I officially kicked Matt Hennessy in the center. We're going to go with Bergeron at left guard. Everything else remains the same. Wide receiver room does change a little bit. We're going to have Archibald, the first round pick, start at wide receiver 2. We got KJ Hamler and Quez Watkins. Now, the interesting call here is while I love Kyle Pitts in the slot, I love the volume and targets he gets in the slot, he's an X factor, and right now it's kind of about building up the rest of the team. So we're going to do a little bit of experiment here in year 2. I want to see what Kyle Pitts does in terms of just starting at tight end and letting one of these normal dev wide receivers get the opportunity in the slot. And if Kyle Pitts falls off a cliff, it's Kyle Pitts. He needs to be our go-to guy, and if it doesn't work out this year, we'll definitely revert back year 3 and for the remainder of the rebuild, him in the slot if that's where he's going to be able to do the most work. And hopefully this gamble does not cost him that X factor, but that's always a risk you play. Front 3, we have Grady Jarrett, Onyemata, and Harrison. Honestly, I feel like we probably could go McGee right now. He's a 76 with a boost versus a 79, and he's younger, and I think Onyemata's going into the last year of his contract. Unlikely we'll re-sign him. So let's throw McGee in there. Who knows? Maybe he gets enough tackles to get some defensive rookie of the year consideration. Rest of the front 7, though, much more improved. Ebiketti's here, still developing. Troy Anderson up to a superstar. Jenkins, the rookie, and the big free agency addition, Brian Burns. And we're definitely looking at seeing if not only he can throw some life into our pass rush and find a way to get production beyond, just this goddamn 3-4 defense, never getting sacks, but he's also on a star dev, which is pretty bad for Brian Burns. We need to work at getting him back up to an X factor. We saw firsthand in our main channel, Carolina Panthers franchise, just how dominant and unstoppable he can be. So we got to get him back to that spot. We have Grant and Bates at safety, Terrell, Hakuda, and Hughes at corner. Very good roster, and I think from this point on, I want to see Desmond Ridder put up big numbers, maybe shave off a couple interceptions, get that superstar dev this season, and let's get more than first round dumping in the playoffs here in year number 2. All right, I'm actually kind of wishing the Atlanta Falcons playbook wasn't as good. I would like a little bit more of a challenge this early into the rebuild. Year 2, you know what, we're not that far ahead. Tampa could still technically catch us, especially if we slip up down the stretch here. But I mean, I was just kind of looking here. I was like, all right, let's look at the big numbers here. Brian Burns, top 3 in sacks. Bijan Robinson, top 3 rusher. And Desmond Ridder is running away with a lot of the passing stats. So that's kind of where we're at. Playing very well. Looking at some contracts. $92 million. Got to be smart with this money. And honestly, Richie Grant, Richie, good role player. I think there's a chance he might have his best football. We'll go with a player-friendly deal. Bump this up here just a little bit. 4 years, 26. Thank you, Richie Grant. It's a fan of him coming out of Central Florida. Then we got AJ Terrell, lockdown superstar corner. And I mean, really, we're gonna, we can move on from Mike Hughes. Maybe look at drafting a corner because he's just a depth corner at this point. Lorenzo Carter, kind of came surplus requirement when we went out and got Brian Burns. So, I mean, it's pretty good turnover. Most of these guys, they're solid, but we already have either a starter in place or someone that can succeed them. And we're going to have a lot of salary cap to be aggressive this offseason. In year 2, the Atlanta Falcons get the 1 seed in the NFC. So, we're at a point now. We got year 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're good. If we're this good already, and I mean, obviously, we made the investments. Bijan Robinson's an X factor, and yada, yada, yada. We bring in Brian Burns, but, Desmond Ridder kind of fell off pace there. I love seeing Bijan Robinson get more rushing. That was kind of, I would rather Desmond Ridder play well enough to get his dev traits and stuff like that, but I don't need, 50 touchdowns. I'd rather have, a healthy balance because, Bijan Robinson's the exciting new piece that was added to this Falcon team. I would like him to be utilized a little bit. He absolutely was this season. 1,600 yards, 21 touchdowns, average almost 100 a game. Desmond Ridder also was excellent, though. 4,900 yards, 41 touchdowns, 9 picks. Cut out the interceptions, which is good. And I think we should be somewhat optimistic that he will get that superstar dev at some point this season. Kyle Pitts at tight end. Didn't have to keep him in the slot. At tight end, 102 receptions, 1,300 yards, 10 tutties, 12-7 for the rookie Roman Archibald. Hopefully that puts him in Offensive Rookie of the Year conversation, as we do want to get him off that normal dev trait, being our first-round pick at wide receiver. Drake London going for 1,100 yards and 10 tutties. KJ Hamler, not bad as well, 708 for our 4th receiving option. On the defensive side, Torrey Anderson, tackle machine, over 100 tackles for Mike Hughes. We have 14.5 sacks for Brian Burns. Maybe that will go a long ways in getting him off that star dev. 10.5 sacks for Zach Harrison. 9.5 on 20 TFLs for Grady Jarrett. And, I guess interceptions are the lower numbers, statistically speaking, for the number 1 offense in the NFL. All right, good knowing that we're going to be competing against Will Levis in the OP Bucks for most of this rebuild. He wins the MVP. Desmond Ridder coming in at number 6. Looking at the individual awards. Offensive Rookie of the Year does go to Roman Archibald. Nice. Should be optimistic of a star dev trait popping up there. Bijan Robinson, runner-up for running back of the year. Chris Lindstrom wins lineman of the year. I'm not going to lie, he probably should have superstar dev anyways. That likely will be a superstar dev. He's currently on a star. And take a look at the defense. Brian Burns, runner-up for linebacker of the year behind Micah Parsons. But again, usually when you're first, second, when you're top 3, generally speaking, your stats will be enough to get you the dev trait increase versus straight up winning that award outright. So let's just see. Obviously, we got to go through this playoff run first. 14-3. Just do not want to be one and done when you are the number 1 team. At least let's get some momentum. And we can't find it. We do have a weekly award winner in a loss. Desmond Ridder played well, but he got sacked 7 times. Whew, that stings. When you are the 1 seed, you have the offensive and defensive player of the week, and you're still 1 game, 1 loss in the playoffs. Fuck me, man. The Packers ended up beating the Broncos in the Super Bowl. I like seeing 2 fresh teams up there. But looking at our squad, as it relates to dev traits on the offensive side of the ball, Desmond Ridder goes up to a superstar dev. Archibald goes from normal to a star, winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. Chris Lindstrom for winning Lineman of the Year goes up to a superstar. And on the defensive side of the ball, really the only one that stings is Brian Burns not going up a dev trait. But I mean, again, is what it is. As long as he's simming nicely, the dev trait's not going to mean a whole lot because he's going to probably hit 99 overall when all is said and done, and we're simming. We don't need the abilities. We did lose the superstar dev on AJ Terrell, which might have been a little harsh. I don't think he played that badly, but all in all, given how much salary cap we have going into this offseason, given how good our team is, maybe we just need a couple more missing pieces so that we can fucking win a playoff game. We're swinging for the fences in free agency. Again, kind of in line with the Brian Burns thing, where it's like we just have so much money, it'd be unrealistic not to spend it. And it's a player that's I don't know if I've ever seen Patrick Surtain, PS2, as a free agent, let alone as an X factor. So seeing that the other top bid was a team in the NFC, I don't want him going there. We have an opening. We have an opening on the other side of AJ Terrell. If he wants to join the good guys, that will be the lone signing for us this season. So with our first round pick in the draft, this is the downside of just kind of like going with best player available in free agency by getting Patrick Surtain, because my top pick that I kind of been eyeing in is a corner, a 6'4" corner that is like going to be surplus requirement. I'm pretty sure he's going to be PPA. Anytime you get a 6'4" corner with elite speed, A and double B, I might almost just have to draft him. And like, do we trade Jeff Okudah? Does he become surplus? Like, he is clearly my best player available, my highest graded player. There was a wide receiver I like, deep threat, kind of fits in the mold of Archibald, wide receiver we got last year. First rounder, great speed, elite acceleration, elite agility, A deep route running, B release. Like, those are the trends that you want to look for a wide receiver. But I don't want to get burned again by drafting a normal dev player. We have him scouted as a round 1 talent, and he can come in and be our wide receiver 3. There's also, I mean, in terms of need, did we hit on linebacker? Did we hit like good enough at the linebacker spot? Because we have Travis Johnson here, who looks really good. Double A and a B, 6'3", 240, with also like kind of what you're looking for. Maybe not the best combine. So it's a tough call, but you know what? I'm thinking our run defense sucked. Who is the number 1 player that can help us with our run defense? That would be still aggressively trying to find the right pairing at linebacker. So we'll go Travis Johnson. And I'm not going to try to shit on the fact that we signed Patrick Surtain and it didn't allow me to go draft a 6'4" corner. But, man, I bet you that guy's going to be good. So, take a look at our draft. A little bit top-heavy. Made the first 2 picks. Let the draft kind of finish out the rest. 68, not bad. Our second-round guard, 73, is a hidden dev. He's just going to be depth for the time being. But I do think eventually you might want to look at Bergeron going to right tackle for McGarry's kind of starting to, like, he's at his ceiling. He's going to regress at that right tackle spot. So, eventually, maybe we can kick Bergeron to tackle, and then Owens can slide in to that guard spot. So, we're just, you know, adding the adequate amount of depth to our offensive line. But Travis Johnson here, 75 run stuffer. So I do think our scheme fit is pass coverage. I don't know if that's necessarily a strength of Johnson. We'll see what happens. It takes a 2-point hit. And yeah, not exactly what we're looking. I mean, looks still like a good player, but I don't know how much better he's going to be than the linebacker we drafted last year. But I do want to see what that corner is. I feel like that corner should have been the pick, and then we just dealt with the follow. We dealt with maybe having to trade Jeff Okudah or something like that, just because when you get a 6'4" corner with elite speed, you almost need to do it. And he you know, I could have actually probably tried to trade back up. 6'4", 95 speed, would have been a scheme fit. 95, you know, not necessarily like Tariq Woolen levels, but still great traits. And let's see what this dev trait is. Hopefully it's only a star dev, and we can live with our decision here. And it's superstar, so he would have been an absolute baller pick. God damn it. Anyway, point of here, number 3, and we are sitting atop the NFC South with a 5-2 record. Not quite pulling ahead. Actually, let's just sim this one here because this is a big matchup. First place, second place in the division. Carolina gets this win and maybe it's going to be a race to finish out the season. We're able to get the dub, though. Very nice, 24-20. Let's take a look at some contracts. Now, a reason why we have so much money is because this guy. We haven't paid this guy yet. We might as well pay him right away. He's been awesome. 5 years, $135 million for Desmond Ridder, which still gives us a reasonable amount of salary cap. Kyle Pitts is up next over another $100 million, and he wants more money. 106 mil he turned down. I probably could get him done for 110. Grady Jarrett is a legend. Maybe that's not the best way to use this money, but I like keeping the OGs when I can. We don't need Algier. We definitely need Troy Anderson to come back. We'll give him a 4-year deal to dominate the middle of the field. I think Ebiketie is also interesting. I would like to continue to develop him. I think he's a nice role player. He doesn't have to do a whole lot with Brian Burns on the other side. But the fact that it's going to kind of turn into a bidding war there, and he doesn't want to return, I think we're just going to shift all of our focus to re-signing Kyle Pitts, and then we'll let all these guys hit the open market, and maybe then we'll look at bringing them back. Another big-time season for the Atlanta Falcons, closing out year number 3, 12-5 with the top 10 offense, number 7 offense overall, and almost a top 10 defense. Now, I don't like the fact that Patrick Surtain, AJ Terrell, and company, Jesse Bates, are the 29th passing defense, but that's just kind of the sim. The sim always kind of works itself out that way. Looking at the league leaders, big picture. Ooh, not seeing any of our guys. Also, don't really call many players of the week. Desmond Ridder played nice. Interceptions are back up, however. 44 touchdowns, 17 picks. I don't think we're going to be able to expect an X factor off of this season, but maybe we'll be surprised. Bijan Robinson, almost 1,500 yards, 14 touchdowns. Archibald led the team. He was our starting slot wide receiver. And, I mean, Kyle Pitts, those are still outstanding numbers. It's still rare for a tight end to go over 1,000 yards. But it's just weird that his production dropped off a little bit this season. But Archibald with a nice year. Drake London, 15 touchdowns on 1,200 yards. Defensively, Troy Anderson and Travis Johnson going over 100. Same AJ Terrell. Travis Johnson's depth chart, I saw this earlier, is superstar. So we passed on that 6'4 superstar corner, and we're able to get a 6'3 superstar linebacker to pair with Troy Anderson, who's also a superstar linebacker. Looking at our sacks, 10.5 Grady Jarrett, 9 for Brian Burns. Not the best sack numbers, kind of regressed a little bit there. PS2 led the team with 3 interceptions. Yearly awards, I don't think we'll have anybody. Oh, Desmond Ridder, number 10 for the MVP. It's better than nothing. But I think for the rest of the awards, we're not going to be seeing any Atlanta Falcons, which we did not, because it was just a little bit of an off year, but still pretty good, all things considered. But this is our third year. Third playoff opportunity. We're 0-2 in playoff games. Make it 1-2 as we defeat the 49ers 30-17, going to the divisional round, trying to run through the NFC West. Next up is Seattle. And it's a 1-point loss. Damn. How'd this one break down? Seattle got 13 in the fourth. We only got 7. 2 touchdowns, 1 pick for Desmond Ridder. Waldron, I mean, our secondary showed up here today. 2 interceptions on the Seahawks quarterback. We just couldn't get it done. When all is said and done, shout out Richie Grant and Jeff Okudah for forcing them turnovers. And at least, going into year 4, we have some form of playoff success by getting 1 win. Now we got to build off of that. Commanders went on to win the Super Bowl, and as we are looking at our roster, Desmond Ridder, I mean, I guess he did throw enough interceptions that if he went down a dev trade, I probably couldn't contest it because he almost had 20 picks. But luckily, he stayed on Superstar. We did lose a dev trade here on Jake Matthews. He is at that point. He's an old man, lost his star dev, which kind of sucks. On the defensive side of the ball, Jesse Bates goes from star up to a superstar. And I believe that is the only dev trade up or down on the defense, which is a dub. There's also going to be an end of an era here for Jake Matthews. Just at this price point, I'd rather that $13 million to be able to go and invest on the squad. So thank you very much for your service. Very underrated. But now we're going to kick over Bergeron to left tackle with Bryce Owens, our hidden dev, now star dev, rookie from last year, going to start at left guard, which leaves us really the right tackle spot open to go get someone here in free agency. And in classic, of course, situation, Here in free agency, we let go of Jake Matthews, and he's the best left tackle available. So, you know, at this point, I'm going to shift my focus towards the draft. I always like when there's like one clear position we need to go at an upgrade. Now, we do also need an edge rusher. We decided to move on from Arnold Eviketti, who's, of course, also the top player available for his position. So, and also Lorenzo Carter, former edge rusher. That is not what you want to see. So, looking at the actual defensive ends that we could convert here. I mean, Karlaftis? Sure. He's a hell of an athlete. Do you think that would work? We'll offer him a player friendly, see where that puts it. I mean, I don't know how much he would want to, you know, shift from hand in the dirt to standing up, but we'll at least throw that offer out there, see what happens, and if we can land that, that means we're going to go into this draft. It doesn't have to be a tackle either. Nice, we get Karlaftis. We're going to kick him to an outside, outside linebacker role. But we're going to be able to go to this draft. We just straight up need to draft the best lineman available to become our new right tackle. Get the guy you want. Always get the guy you want. God damn it. 23, the guy we wanted. We're waiting at 28. He goes to 23. He had 44 reps on the bench press on the offensive line. A lot of first-round talent on the offensive line in this draft for what we need. Unfortunately, picking last means you get to pick through what everyone else passed over, which always kind of sucks. I'm not seeing much here at left tackle. Got C pass block. Absolutely don't need that. Travis Hale, I did scout at 6'6", 345. Can definitely kick out to right tackle for us. He's probably the leader right now. There's value here later as well. Kirkland looks like he could be solid. Don't really need any centers. We have Sean Edwards at 6'5", 330. Also could probably kick out. Believable to be a tackle at some point. Look at his combine. Elite change of direction, which is pretty nice. I don't know why his bench press dropped. He's the number one bench press at the combine. And then we got at right tackle here. Johnny Butler has the double A going for him. 6'6", 320. Elite agility, elite change of direction. Bench press kind of sucks. That is an archetype. He's kind of guy that'd probably be like 75 normal dev, if I had to guess. Josh Winters has the A and a B at 6'4", 317. Elite athlete. This guy actually looks pretty damn good. I think all things can. Ooh, this is a tough call. What was that guard? That first guard. We got A and a B for Winters with pretty good combine. Travis Hale. 3 B's and an A with still a pretty good combine. I'm gonna go with the guy. How about this? I'm just gonna go with the guy that's 6'6", almost 350 pounds, that had the fastest 40-yard dash for a guard at the combine. Let's go. Hey, take a look at our draft recap. I got some linemen here. We got Travis Hale, 73 hidden dev, gigantic human being, and we're gonna let him get the first crack at becoming a right tackle for us. Just gigantic at Alabama. Feel like Landon Dickerson. We got Richard Kirkland, who is another guy that we kind of highlighted there. He also popped with a dev trait, but obviously a lot more slight. Not gonna try to force him into the tackle spot. He'll just be a depth guard. We got George Walsh at center here in the third round, 73 with a normal dev. So just kind of investing here on the offensive line. Got a 69 running back late. But ultimately, it's all. I just got to go see the guy didn't get pounds. He went to the Jets. I was thinking about trading up, honestly. But this guy's going to fall up. 77. Just be normal. Obviously, it's a lineman. So, just be a star dev. Usually, offensive linemen don't have superstar. If he is a superstar, if you see a guy, get your guy. Because he never will be there if you wait. For sure, this guy had 40, what's his strength? 96 strength. And he had, I think, all B's. I think he was straight up B in every single thing because I scouted him 90%. He was, no A's, I guess. But he's B's technically sound, and athletically speaking, he was S tier. 77 superstar guard. And they got his brother. God damn it. Midway point of year number 4 and very familiar territory. Sitting atop the NFC South with a 5-2 record. This is an important negotiation period, as it always is, as these guys that we want to run the full rebuild on our squad with, and also leaves us with our remaining funds to fund a potential Super Bowl bust season year 5. So taking a look here, we have some nice depth. I obviously want to try to keep together some of the 2023 draft class, like Matthew Bergeron, the Canadian. We'll come back to the table with him. Probably can replace KJ Hamler. Younghoe Koo, I would love to say that my kicker's interested in re-signing. We'll get him on a 2. And he's bending us over. All right, this is looking a little rough here. Zach Harrison, superstar pass rusher, 2 years, $30 million, not worrying about it. Jesse Bates, who was a member. Let's actually see. We might be able to. Let's start with the neutral. He wants more years, so at least it's not the money. That's the issue with Jesse Bates. We give him a 5-year deal. I think that comes across the finish line here. We have Drake London at wide receiver. Offer him a 4-year deal. We get him locked up. We are starting to show that, like, salary cap wise, once we get Bergeron and Jesse Bates, we're probably going to have to move on from our kicker. Hey, you know what? He doesn't want to be here no more. At the end of year 4, right where we belong, top of the NFC South with 13-4. Not good enough to get the 1 seed in the NFC, but that's fine. We can get ready to run the gauntlet here this season. Desmond Ridder, 5,100 yards, 47 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions. That is a big-time area of improvement, as his interceptions have been high this whole rebuild, so he is definitely putting it all together, and I think that this bodes very well for him to become an X factor for the 5th and final year of this rebuild and or the Super Bowl if we make it this season. Running the ball, 1,300 yards, 12 touchdowns for Bijan Robinson. We got 1,500 yards, 18 touchdowns for Kyle Pitts, who, yes, I moved him back into the slot. Never should have moved him out of it. This is absolutely where he's thriving and how he's best used. Drake London, 1,100 yards, 9 touchdowns, over 1,000 for Archibald. On the defensive side, Troy Anderson and Travis Johnson are 2 superstar linebackers, both with a lot of tackles. 11.5 sacks, Zach Harrison, 9.5 Grady Jarrett, Brian Burns. What happened? How come he got sacks his first year here, the last 2 years, falling off a freaking cliff? Richie Grant led the team with 4 interceptions. But, really, outside of those pass rush numbers, very, very happy. And look at that. Desmond Ridder is the MVP. Definitely helped that he did not have very many interceptions. I actually think that was probably the deciding factor. Kyle Pitts, a tight end, number 2 for Offensive Player of the Year. I don't know if I've ever seen a tight end straight up win that award. Desmond Ridder, Quarterback of the Year. We got Chris Lindstrom, Lineman of the Year. Very, very, very nice. So we're starting to get some individual accolades, but it's all not going to matter if we continue to struggle in the postseason like we have so far in this rebuild. We are dominant, but we are starting against a competitive Commanders team, which we are able to handle. 2017 wasn't a impressive, dominating victory, but it's a dub. That's all that matters. And we finally get over the hump here in year 4, going to the NFC Championship game after we defeat the Minnesota Vikings 30-24 in overtime. Very close matchup. Neither quarterback lit it up, but I guess 360 yards does constitute lighting up, but only 1 touchdown. There you go. Bijan did the job. We'd throw it and then run it in the red zone. Very good performance. Peyton Hendershot getting an opportunity because Kyle Pitts is playing, that tight end wide receiver hybrid. And we got some nice sacks there. Johnson, Burns, and Harrison, as we are moving on to the championship game with an opportunity to make the Super Bowl and try to close out this rebuild with back-to-back Super Bowl wins. But first, we're going to beat the New York Giants here in the NFC Championship game, which fall short, 34-29. And in this one, it's just a shit second half. Losing to Justin Herbert. All right, we're going to year 5. But Desmond Ridder, as we close out this season, getting his MVP. Barker will lose that boost when we go to next year. But 86 superstar X Factor improviser quarterback. He's come a long way, but he's ready to get that upper echelon top 10 quarterback in the NFL vibes and bring this team to a Super Bowl year 5. And we don't have a lot of money for free agency, but I still want to try to go and improve the squad here. So we're going to look at Vita Vea as a nose tackle upgrade. Also, this is poaching him away from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We do need wide receiver help, but we've already signed Brian Burns and Patrick Surtain, who are the top players available. I feel slightly cheesy doing that with A.J. Brown, considering that we don't need a wide receiver 1, even though the interest is there. So I think to make things interesting, I want to go, and if I don't have to trade a bunch of draft picks, I want to try to get the best wide receiver in the draft class in this upcoming one. So there wasn't a wide receiver worth trading up for. It was kind of like a log jam of like who the top wide receiver was going to be. And I mean, wide receiver is the hardest position to draft because, like, I'll just show you an example. Like this guy here, for example. Jonathan Colbert. He's not going to be. But I've seen wide receivers that are like, okay, they have Fs, and they end up being like a superstar dev in like 73 overall. So I feel like out of all the positions that, like, if you're trying to decipher if a guy's going to be good or not, ooh, look at this guy. Jacquez Howard. First, second rounder, A catch in traffic, B release. The F deep rounding looks butt cheeks. 6'4", 224. And a 4'3". Like, that looks intriguing, but like usually you don't see, like, I play this game too much because if I see a guy like this, if they're really good, they're going to be the guys that have like an S tier vertical jump. He just has a good vertical jump. This guy's probably going to be pretty solid, but I could see him being like a 74 normal dev. We have DeMar Peterson, who has A catch traffic, B catching, double C's. He's 6'3", 230. Elite strength, not necessarily the athlete that you're looking for, even though, I mean, in real life, the guy this big was running a 4'4", you'd be, yeah, very intrigued. The other option here would be Evan Key, who is a scheme fit, has CB. He has probably the best key ratings of the bunch, and the combine, again, it's a mixed bag. I'm gonna say it's between Howard and Key, but Howard has the F. I feel like Key might have the higher floor. And we need a guy that can just come in and contribute right away. I need the guy with the higher base rating. It's not a perfect year for a wide receiver. Probably should have just went A.J. Brown, but we'll go Evan Key. And honestly, maybe there's a chance that Howard's available in the second round, and we'll just get both of them. Psych! Literally, I was like, as soon as another wide receiver goes, there's like 4 ahead of Howard. I'm going to go up and trade and get him. We didn't learn our lesson from the Jets guard superstar pick. Get your guys. Just get them, no matter what. You find one, you get them. Because if you wait, you know, what's it going to cost you? What would it cost me to trade up to the top end in the second round? I might have cost a 3rd round pick that I wasn't even really going to use anyways. And I would have been able to take 2 swings to try to find the best wide receiver in this draft class. We did get Evan Key, 75. That's actually not too bad. Scheme fit, which was, you know, I use that in part to, you know, kind of be a tiebreaker, if you will. 90 change of direction, 91 agility, 84 catching, 92. Not bad. This looks like a solid wide receiver, which is what we needed to be. We needed to come in and be a wide receiver 3. The Rams got the guy that we were thinking about here. All right, no, this is the number 1 wide receiver. This was a guy that had the speed and the high deep route running. 98, 98. This would have been the guy that I would have had to trade up for, but it cost multiple first-round picks. And I was just like, you know, I honestly thought it was just going to be like a star dev or something like that. And that's actually what it is. So it's very similar to at least our player in terms of dev traits. But who got him? Second round. Let me see this. Right here. Oh, it was the lines. 74 with the hidden dev. Don't be an X Factor. If you're going to be an X Factor, I'm going to be mad. Okay, only a star as well. Still would have been a nice player, but let's just focus on what we were able to land in the draft, and let's hope that the great, hopefully soon-to-be great, Evan Key can be a great role player for us. Evan Key, ladies and gentlemen. Evan Key, role player, huh? Psych. So take a look at our roster for the 5th and final year of this rebuild with the addition of Key, which we know he's going to be a good player. We got Desmond Ridder, Bijan Robinson, both X Factors at this point. Both have been awesome in this rebuild. Kyle Pitts has also been incredible in this rebuild. Offensive line is solid. You know, maybe in terms of like, you know, we always talk about year 5. We got a super team. We got to win. I mean, you know, our offensive line's solid. Lindstrom is awesome. No weakness on the O-line, but it's also not like a juggernaut offensive line. I think the fact that we've been able to put up the numbers that we have been able to with this offensive line, I have no worry whatsoever. The fact that we also added an X-Factor wide receiver to the mix should really put this team over the top. And kudos to the sim, man. We used our coach to unveil a depth trait, and it was for our like 3rd round pick corner. He's not playing, but it's just, hey, kudos to the draft here. Terrence Williams, superstar corner out of Alabama. So walking at a year 5 final draft with an X-Factor wide receiver and a superstar corner. Pretty good. Bodes well in the fantasy land of like if this rebuild continued. I guess at the end of last season, though, we did lose the superstar dev on Zach Harrison. The addition of Vita Vea at nose tackle should help out our run defense. Rest of the front 7 looks very good. Richie Grant up to a superstar dev. Jesse Bates up to an X-Factor. So we have our 3 X-Factors tapped out here. I don't know why Pat Surtain doesn't have his ability on. Okay, we're going to go ahead and give you shutdown. Why wouldn't that automatically set? Huh. Either way, our team's peaking at the right time. I think we go get the job done here. A dominant way to close out this rebuild. Year 5, number 3 offense in the NFL, number 1 defense in the NFL, 15-2 record, 1 seed in the NFC, 92s across the board. Offense, defense, overall. Team was excellent. Desmond Ridder, 2nd in terms of passing yards. We have... that's unfortunately it. But you know what? Bet everyone else still had good seasons. Desmond Ridder, 2nd in yards, outside the top 10 in touchdowns, but very, very protective of the football, which wasn't the case earlier in the rebuild. So kudos to him for really, getting that area of his game corrected. 1,500 yards, 14 touchdowns. Bijan, 1,300 yards, 12 tutties. Kyle Pitts, 11-3 for Archibald, 11-9 for Drake London, 7-8 for Billingsley. Our X-Factor key just didn't play. And in a perfect world, we wouldn't have had to move Kyle Pitts to slot to get him the targets that he rightfully deserves. And we would have had a key probably in that position. But, whatever. It is what it is. I'd rather Kyle Pitts get this number versus Kyle Pitts getting this number, to be honest with you. Defensively, Anderson Johnson, both tackle machines, 130 each. 13 sacks, Zach Harrison. 9.5, Brian Burns. 7.5 from Vita Vea. 3 picks for Terrell Surtain. And our new superstar corners, Terrence Williams, somehow gets more picks. Very limited duty versus, Jeff Okudah, who's starting in the slot. So that's awesome that he's able to make some plays when he's able to get on the field. Yearly awards, Josh Allen wins the MVP, so it's not back-to-back MVPs for Desmond Ridder, who comes in at number 6. Just kind of burning through here for some potential Falcon award winners. It's Chris Lindstrom. I believe that is his 3rd Offensive Lineman of the Year award in 5 seasons. So dominant. Kind of clowned on him a little bit for being a ridiculously expensive guard. I don't know what it was, like a $100 million contract, but if you are going to have a $100 million offensive guard, he better win Lineman of the Year sometimes. And the fact that he's won it 3 out of 5 years, more so in my opinion, justifies the price point there. As we set up the divisional round as our 15-2 Atlanta Falcons take on the 10-7 Seattle Seahawks. Now the Seattle Seahawks, they have a top 10 offense, top 10 defense. The number 9 offense, number 9 defense. So it should be a competitive game. They're at 88 overall. So for a CPU-generated team, 88 is pretty nice, but they did not really stand much of a chance as we knocked them off 34-18, punching our ticket to the NFC Championship game back-to-back years. In this matchup, we saw A.J. Terrell get Defensive Player of the Week, 4 tackles, 2 interceptions. Is that Colt Brennan? Did they make Colt Brennan rest in peace? I'm not even gonna check because I don't want to ruin it. I'm gonna guess, and I just want to assume that that's who that is, and good for him. So we are now here in the NFC Championship game. 15-2 Falcons, 11-6 Dallas Cowboys. It's year 5. It's Super Bowl or bust. So we're gonna hop in on this one. And because it's against Dallas, if we have to get a little hands-on, I'm not gonna have any issue doing so. But do I think we're gonna have to interject? I'd like to assume that our team's gonna handle Dallas the right way, put them away. But you never know, man. Dallas has a overpowered playbook, but I can't throw rocks in a what's that saying? Can't throw rocks in a glass house because our playbook has been incredible so far here today in this rebuild. But the fact that we are down 24-0, it's less than ideal. So we're gonna come in here on this 3rd and 2 because I think if we get a touchdown here, it might have an opportunity to flip the game on its head here. Full momentum for the Cowboys, however. So on this play here, we're gonna look probably for Archibald, utilize that 99 speed. Get on the play action. He is wide open. Make that grab. Juke fucking, I don't know who that is. Diggs out of his cleats. That's what happens when you got 99, 99, 99 on speed, acceleration, agility. Made him look stupid, able to get that very nice touchdown. But as you can see, man, I feel like this is going to be one of those games where, like, we're going to have to see this one out. 3rd and 4. Kyle Pitts in the slot. That's really where I want to go. Ideally, we just move the chains. Oh, he's wide open. It's just super cheesy. Oh, we missed. What? In what world? All right, we'll go gun curls. In what world do we miss that? We'll go to Jaleel Billingsley, the backup. Makes the grab. Easy matchup. We spread out the Dallas Cowboys defense. Take on, maybe, you know what? I'll take our weakest guy versus their weakest guy. We did not hit on the 2-point conversion, so we are trailing by 2. Really, a field goal here? That's what we're looking for. I'd rather just go for it. It's all or nothing. And this is going to be likely a very sad end to this rebuild because we ran into the Dallas Cowboys. But we'll see what happens. Get that needed touchdown. Drake London. Make the onside. We're not going to recover, but we do have our timeouts. Doesn't have a chance. You know what? We've won our last couple Super Bowls. I guess we were due to fucking run into the Cowboys or the Chiefs, one of these rebuilds. Fuck. And that's all. I mean, firsthand. This is the pros and cons. I made a video. My last upload would have been my wish list for Madden 24. Talked about a lot of things, but I think the biggest thing that needs to get changed in a franchise mode is like playbooks can't be the same. Playbooks can't. I've had literally people that make the game say it's playbooks. I'm not going to say who. Playbooks. Playbooks are what make Dallas. Playbooks are what make Kansas City. Playbooks are what make Tampa Bay so good. And we got to experience the downside of that. It's just lame. Like, there's no way. I'm not going to say there's no way. They're not a bad team. 88 overall. But, like, generally speaking, through all the rebuilds we've done, there's no way Dallas is this good. We've seen Dallas in real life. They shouldn't be overpowered. The only team that should sim overpoweringly should be the Kansas City Chiefs. But we saw the downside of that because it's just like, all right, classic Dallas for the most part. It's fair to bring it up because if I didn't score those touchdowns, this game is probably even more one-sided, right? So we saw the downside of having those playbooks. It sucks. It's repetitive. It's the same teams. It makes no sense. It feels like your ratings don't matter. We also saw the good side of that, which is also kind of bad because this was supposed to be like not necessarily a super challenging rebuild, but I picked this, and then I talked about at the very beginning. Atlanta is like an interesting team for me to make my main channel franchise because I think there's a lot of work that needs to get done with a good mix of fun players. But because Atlanta does have, an A-tier playbook, Desmond Ridder was getting 30, 40, 50 touchdowns. Like, it's just, there's no real winning if you have, like, this playbook's dominant. You're going to either go up against super annoying fucking teams that are always going to beat you, or you're going to have that playbook, and it's going to make your team super mode, and it's going to lose some of the grind to get to the point where you want to be. Like, I wanted Desmond Ridder to get 30, 40 touchdowns, maybe year 4 and year 5, once he's developed, once he's put in the time, once we've built up the skill positions and the offense around him. I don't want him getting 56 touchdowns while my wide receiver 2's an 80 overall. But it is what it is, man, and it needs to change. It needs to get fixed. I can't comment beyond just knowing that, like, why certain teams play like that. It's down to the playbooks. I don't know the technical reason why, but if you are giving any form of bump to a playbook, that means that there is some form of disadvantage to your ratings, because at a certain point, an 88 is not going to play like an 88 because of your playbook. It's either going to play like a 99 or it's going to play like an 80 if you have a really shit playbook, and that should not be the case whatsoever. So I really, really hope that gets addressed ahead of Madden 23, or at least from Madden 23 into Madden 24, because it's so lame. Like, I don't think it's. I don't want to just go on this endless, directionless rant, but like anytime there's like an issue like this, in closing, because we're gonna finish this looking at the career stats here. Anytime there's an issue like this, the worst part to me is that, like, it's not something that you need to, you know, find an exploit for to get it to happen. I always relate these things to Call of Duty because it's an easy game to make comparisons to. But like in Call of Duty, there's gonna be people that like, well, you know what? I got 9 trillion XP in zombies and I got all the gold camos because I found this exploit in the game. And like maybe it'll take a little bit for that to get patched because it's an exploit and it's gonna be tough to get recreated and people don't want that in the game because it kind of eliminates some of the fun in the game. But eventually it will get patched. But it might take a little bit because it could be very difficult to replicate, very difficult for the developers to go in and figure it out. Maybe that's not the best example, but stick with me here. But in Madden, this is clearly not working as intended. The fact that like certain teams are just always ridiculous shouldn't be this case. And you know how hard it is to replicate this? You know how hard it is to find this out? Just play the game once. Like the fact that like there's A, B, C, D, E, F issues in franchise mode, and like they're prevalent. Like there's people, the developers play this game. The people that say and put the finish stamp on Madden play this game. They play the exact same franchise mode we do. They see these things. Why aren't we fixing them? I don't know. It is what it is. So take a look at our stats here. Still, I think when all is said and done, a very successful rebuild. Desmond Ridder, 30,000 yards passing, 240 touchdowns to 75 picks. Very good. Bijan Robinson finishes his rebuild, 7,000 yards rushing, 73 touchdowns in 5 seasons. So, I mean, he's absolutely lived up to the billing, justifies the top 10 selection. Kyle Pitts was incredible for us with around 8,800 yards, 68 touchdowns. We got 6,900 yards, 59 tutties for Drake London. Archibald was here for a long time, 4,700 yards, 22 touchdowns for him. Bijan, 2,000 yards receiving. Defensively, Jesse Bates goes over 1,800 yards, or 800 tackles, for Troy Anderson. We have 76 sacks. Brian Burns did some of that with us. Did most of that probably with the Panthers. 72.5 sacks for Grady Jarrett. 49.5 sacks for Zach Harrison, part of that first draft class. We have 17 picks. AJ Terrell, 13 for Troy Anderson. Kind of rounding out everything here. But I don't know, man. What do you guys think about the playbooks? Like, it's an issue, right? I'm not making a mountain out of a molehill here. Like, if Madden 24 still has this, and we're going to be able to see this right away. The beta, should be out soon. Like, that's going to be the first thing I do in beta, in franchise modes. I'm just going to sim to the end of year 1 to the fucking Bucks. Whoever the Bucks have. Baker Mayfield. I'm already, like, it's a nightmare. It's nightmare fuel. Imagine this is you right now. We're in Madden 24. You're week 1 of Madden 24. You're like, I just want to kind of see what's going on. Sim to the end of the first season. You want to go to the off season. Just imagine right now, we did that, and then we go over here, and the passing leader, instead of Will Levis, because he's the Bucs quarterback, it says Baker Mayfield, 5,400 yards, 48 touchdowns. I'm gonna be fucking livid. I'm gonna almost go scorched earth if it's the exact same shit because it's copy and paste fucking problems. Hopefully that's not the case. I don't know. I'm gonna end this rant here. Maybe I'm a little bit triggered because we lost to the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know. But thank you guys very much for watching today's video. As always, in the comment section below, let me know what rebuild you guys want to see next. And until next time, it's your boy C4 saying subscribe, like, all that YouTube cheesy stuff. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out. Love ya. Have a good one.